Hey everyone, this is Catherine from Millennials in Motion magazine. This is our 5th episode of Conversations with the Community. Now, October is Mental Health Awareness Month, so I am sitting down with Christine of the Bulletproof Project to talk about her organization. How are you doing, Christine?
Doing great. How are you?
Good, thanks. So, what is the Bulletproof Project?
So the Bulletproof Project is this whole organization I started back in March 2017, I believe, to raise awareness for mental health in the Polynesian community, because it's something that we don't talk about. We, brush it under the rug. It just doesn't exist pretty much. So I wanted to shed light on something that, should matter, you know what I mean? Because it exists. We all go through it. And, people who go through it deserve to be heard. And so that's why I wanted to start this whole organization, to kind of give people a safe place, sort of, to be free to, be open, express themselves, share their stories, people who just want to be heard, pretty much.
And that's amazing, especially since mental health and depression is not talked about in general.
Right.
But what's it like in the Polynesian community? Is there a higher rate of people who don't talk about it than the general population?
There is actually, I want to say, because in the Polynesian community, I want to separate us from how other cultures deal with it. For us, there are so many things we go through, and I know many people do, but for us, we are held to a certain standard that allows us to, just hide who we are, hide how we feel.
Kind of more specific cultural expectations.
Yeah. So, depression, anxiety, and things like that, it's way out of the cultural norm, because we, us Polynesians, people see us, we're these, big people, we're tough and all that. But, in reality, we have feelings just like this person and the next person. And I wanted to, shine a light on that, because, we're people too. We're human. We just deserve to be heard as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
So,
everyone goes through different things, but different cultures
go through different things.
Yeah, different cultures experience different things that happen to them more specifically than they do,
right.
People who are, Hispanic or Black people. There's certain things that affect all of us and feed into depression,
right.
but that doesn't mean we can't pinpoint the things that different groups of people specifically experience
right.
at higher rates than other people.
Something so little to someone could mean something really big to someone else. I feel in the Polynesian culture, if you feel a certain way, if you feel depressed or down, or you just don't want to, you cannot do that. You have to do this. You have to live up to this certain expectation that is expected from your parents, your family, from anybody. And so I just wanted to, because it's just as important as the next culture and the next culture. You know what I mean? Because, depression in the Polynesian community, nobody talks about it. And that's what I wanted to change, because, in my family, for example, from my personal experience, when I was diagnosed back in 2015 with minor depression, I had told my mom, I told my family, and then they were like, oh, that's a real thing. And I just want to be that caught me off guard, because, of course it's a real thing. I know you wouldn't know it's a real thing because it's not happening to you, but it's happening to me. It's happening to your kid. It's happening to someone else's kid.
They just think oh, that just means you're sad.
Yeah,
right?
Why are you so sad all the time? You have a roof over your head, you have food. I understand that, and I'm very grateful. I really am, but that's just way out of the whole circle of me feeling down and me wanting, trigger warning, me wanting to hurt myself. Because that's what they thought. Oh, she has depression. Oh, she wants to kill herself. No, I'm just, this is me. This is how I feel. And I want it to be acknowledged. Something like that.
Yeah. And I think it's also, important that because there's so many things that can cause depression, having a one-size-fits-all method does not work. So
Right.
if we're going to address the issue of depression and mental health as a whole, we need to acknowledge the things that affect people differently.
Right.
So I think that's awesome that you're trying to help your community out with that.
Thank you.
So besides what else you've just touched on, what inspired you to develop your organization?
What inspired me was actually a lot of things. Was myself, me and a friend, Tasha Afua. We had gone through like the hardest time of our lives together because, you know, Polynesian families, depression, like, oh no, like that's not how we roll
taboo.
pretty much, right? Like we pretty much helped each other get through the toughest times of our lives, and we just wanted to help other people that didn't have the help that we had. Like we had each other, and we found, you know, solidarity in each other, and it was like really nice. And we're like, okay, other people need this too. And another thing that inspired me was like the biggest thing. I had gotten a message on Instagram in 2015, months before, like a few months before I had started this whole thing. I had gotten a DM, a message from this girl. She had this lengthy post or this lengthy message, and she said what she ended it with was, "Thank you for saving my life."
Wow.
And I was like, that really caught me off guard because I had talked about, you know, wanting to help people on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like anywhere I could. And I guess she noticed that, and like that's the biggest thing that really inspired me to do this whole thing, was because someone noticed me, and someone, like, it helped her get like through her demons. And I just wanted to share that with the world, because after I got that message, I was like, okay, now I can help the next person. Like, this is gonna help me help the next person, and then that person can help the next person.
Yeah, it all branches out.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to be nice to people. Like, that's the biggest thing that I want to like share in the world. Like, there's this quote I live by. There are many kind people in the world, but if you can't find one, then be one. Yeah. And so that's what I like to share out and, like, you know, pass on to this person and the next person, is because you never know. Like, you never really know. And that's the biggest thing that sucks, honestly, because you don't know what someone is going through, and you just want to help as much as you can. And
and that's why your tag on Facebook is Polynesian Positivity, right?
Yes,
that's
projecting awesome. Polynesian positivity. Because in our culture, we are raised to have thick skin, meaning, like, for me, I was raised in a family that would joke a lot, but these jokes would hurt to the max. And so having thick skin would protect you from these jokes, but then again, there's this...
They still hurt.
Yeah, they still hurt. Like, you can't make fun of someone for something that they're insecure about and expect them to be okay with it. You know what I mean? Like,
and especially if that's like a continuous thing. Like,
exactly.
if it's coming from, you know, people who are close to you, like your family or your friends, and it's a constant thing.
Right.
That starts chipping away at you.
Like,
you know, ever
they
so
think
slowly.
This, they think that. Like, we get it. It's a joke, but not to us. We understand that it can be funny at times. Like, if I laugh with you, then okay, you got me. But what about the next person? Like, that could easily trigger like a whole depressive mood, and like they don't even know.
About themselves, you know.
And when they tell you that, oh, that hurts me, please don't say that. They're like, oh, just, you know, like, grow up, have thick skin.
Yeah,
like,
it's just a joke.
Yeah, like, no, like, acknowledge my feelings. This hurts me. Please don't do it again. And that's the biggest thing. Another big thing is because we are raised to have thick skin.
It's like you setting a boundary, and people are like, well, fuck your boundaries.
Exactly. Like, okay, we're supposed to have thick skin, but what if? Just what if, you know? Recently, I lost my brother to suicide, and it...
My condolences.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
No, you're...
It really took a toll on our whole family.
I can't even imagine.
It took... Because, you know, this kid is happy all the time. You never know. Like I said, it just sucks that you never know, and that's the biggest thing that will always stick with anybody, because, you know, like, for many people that go through things that, you know, like, that deal with people that have family members or friends that, you know, want to end their lives, a tough thing to get through. And for people in my community, the Polynesian community, to repeatedly say, oh, just have thick skin, that just, blocks out, that makes us feel like we can't have actual feelings because we have to have thick skin. And so that's another statistic or stereotype that I wanted to break, is having thick skin.
So it's almost kind of like how, for instance, like in general, like when it comes to, say, men, men are always expected to, deal with things a certain way, put up with things. Like, you're not allowed to have emotions and everything, but it's you as an entire community, regardless of whether, it's men or women in your community, you're all experiencing that stigma of what that expectation is.
Right. I mean, it's like a reoccurring thing that people in your family always tell you, like, it's just a joke, come on, don't be like that. But then again, they're not taking into account of how this person feels. And that personally bothers me because I have dealt with that. And I don't take anything to the heart, but still, just be considerate of people's feelings, like, always.
Yeah.
Just be a nice person.
Yeah. And it's probably because, like, these things are handed down from generation to generation. Their parents told them to suck it up, and then that built them up to have, like you said, this tough skin. And then, now you're being raised by them, and they're telling you the same thing that they were told, that their parents were told. So it's really a matter of not just, like, breaking down the stigma, it's breaking that cycle.
Right.
So I think that's awesome that you're so dedicated to this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So how did you start everything off? Like, once you got the idea and the inspiration, like, how did you set up your organization?
So the way I approached it was social media. Social media is big now, as we all know.
It's a great tool to use.
Yeah, it really is. So what I used Twitter first, and then I went on to make a Facebook page, and then a blog post. And then I just started, like, at first I started messaging people like, hey, I want to do this. What do you think? What are your thoughts? And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And I was like, okay, this is what we're going to call it. This is our slogan or our motto. And, just spread the word. If you want to be part of the movement, then spread the word as much as you can. And after that, the support was really big. And I was like, the turnout for that, I was shocked. Because I was like, when I saw how many people, like people I didn't even know, people from all around the world. I had people from China, even in Japan. Yeah, I had people from like all around the world, New Zealand, Australia.
That's amazing.
Just emailing me like, hey, you're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing. And I shed like a tear. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, maybe I can do this. Because before I was like kind of iffy, because when I had told some people that I wanted to do something like this, they were like, you don't think you're going to waste your time with that? I was like...
So if you save one person's life, which you said you already had ended up doing just by talking about your experience before you even started this organization, there's no time wasted.
Exactly. And when they had told me that, I was like, why would I waste my time? Like, what do you mean waste my time? Waste my time trying to help my people? Waste my time trying to better this community for the next generation and
bettering the world in general.
Exactly. Like, I'm not wasting my time. You're wasting your time for telling me this.
Right.
Like, okay, I understand people are entitled to their own opinions, but please keep yours to yourself.
Right, like, it's like, if you don't have something nice to say,
then just...
like, what is it hurting you? Like,
Like, what I'm doing, how does it affect you, right? Okay, do you need help? Like, just like, why do you need to be so negative?
Is there some underlying
towards
thing going on
so
that's making
positive?
you feel this
Exactly.
way?
Like, do you not like me or something? Like, you just don't think I'm going to succeed in this? Like, you could think that all you want, but I will not stop. And then the next person was like, but, I mean, do you even have your own experience? Like, this is coming from someone I don't even know, never had a conversation with, and they had the audacity to ask me if I had my own experience with this. And then I told them, I was like, it doesn't, like, okay, it does matter, but then again, I just want to help people. That's all. And for you to question that, and for you to, like, someone you don't even know. And like I said, people are entitled to their own opinions. But, you know, there are wrong opinions in the world.
Yeah.
And then
like saying
just
that,
some.
it's like saying, oh, why did you hold the door open for that person? Aren't you wasting
Exactly.
your time?
Like, oh, you're wasting your time being nice. I'm like,
this is what's wrong with the world.
right. Like, if me helping people bothers you, then that's a personal problem.
Yeah.
You don't have a problem with me. You have a problem with yourself. So you might want to get that fixed.
Right. Do you want to talk about it?
We can talk. You can email me.
So what do you work to do through the project right now?
Right now, what my biggest goal for right now, we have an event coming up, which I'm really excited for. And after my last event, it was like a big eye-opener, because like I expected only like 2 people to show up, and like 10-15 people showed up. I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. And so my goal for this whole organization was, like I have always said, just help the next person. Like, that's my goal.
Like a pay it forward thing.
Exactly.
Like take the information I'm giving you, and then you're gonna go
share it. Like, just, you know, pass it on to the next person. Make sure that person passes it on to the next person. I just want to be like a positive, you know, affirmation to people that, okay, I can, you know, get through this year. I can get through this month, this week, or whatever. Like, you know, that saying, like, it's not a bad life, it's just a bad day, or something like that. I think that's really important, because, you know, people that go through depression, anxiety, they just think, oh my God, it's the end of the world.
Like, how am I ever going to get through this?
Right. And it's just like, just keep going. Like, just keep going. You know, trust me on this, just keep going. For me, that's how I always thought, is because when I was going through a rough time my senior year, it was, I want to say, like the hardest year of my life, because, you know, high school in general, it just sucks. And, you know, being in college now and looking back, it's like, wow, if I knew then what I know now, I would, you know, not be so focused on what this person thought or what this person thought, because that was me in high school.
I think it's most people in high school.
I mean, you would expect that. Mm-hmm. And like, that was me in high school, because I was insecure about a lot of things and depressed a lot of the time because of it. And so it was a learning experience, I want to say. And to pass that on to the next person, like share my story in hopes of them sticking around for sharing their story, pretty much. Like what I always say, like, continue to, you know, share your light with the world. But
then you can help everyone else's light burn a little brighter. Exactly.
And it's just like my goal for this whole organization is just to, people can, you know, refer back to it and like, oh, you know, I had this, like, these people helped me, and I know that I can keep going because of them. Or like share, you know, their word with everyone else, or just keep on sharing that positivity and that, you know, that light, and just as much as you can, like wherever you can. And that's my goal. Like, I don't have a specific goal, like, oh, I just want to, you know, I just like want to make it on the Ellen show or something like that. Like,
that'd be super cool.
It would be.
That's not
it's not realistic.
Yeah, it's not what's right in front of you right now.
Right.
You got to do all this stuff if you were to ever get to that point.
Or like, you know, make it on the TED Talk, which is my dream for myself.
That would be amazing.
It would. And then, but
we're gonna get you on a TED Talk.
But my goal, long term, short term, whatever it may be, for this organization has always been to share my light with whoever I can, because that's all I want to do.
It's kind of like a sort of passing of the torch in a sense.
Right.
That's awesome.
That's just my goal. That's what I want to do. That's how I want people to remember me by, pretty much. And yeah.
No, that's a really good goal to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no doubt that you're going to be able to achieve that goal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Besides the TED Talk, what do you want to achieve through it in the long run? And of course, besides, like, you know, breaking down the stigma and anything, is there any like specific thing that, you know, I guess I guess you kind of just hit on it a little bit in the last question.
Mm-hmm. I want to say the TED Talk, but, you know, I have all of these things planned, and I really want to make it happen. But, you know, there's always that reoccurring thought that, oh no, what if I can't? What if I don't have this? What if I don't have that? Because right now I'm pretty much on this organization by myself, which kind of sucks, but you know, in the long run, I know I'll get like a good team, and to be able to pass that down to them, like hey, continue this and like share as much as you can. But the TED Talk, I guess that's the only like that. I watch them almost all the time because you know there you get so much inspiration and so much motivation from it. It's just like, wow, I want to be on that stage, if not on that stage, in the crowd, because I feel like people who are able to talk there and like stand up there and talk in front of these thousands of people, that has always been a goal of mine, because when I speak in front of people, oh my gosh, my anxiety is through the roof. And for me to be able to achieve that is one thing crossed off my list of things to accomplish. And yeah, pretty much.
Well, so just basically like getting to a point where you have a team and growing it from there.
And continue to grow, yeah.
With just more community outreach.
Exactly.
How do you plan to grow your organization in the future?
That's a good question. How I plan? Nowadays, it's kind of hard to find people to trust to work with, that you trust to work with, you know what I mean? Because people will either make you do all the work or they do no work at all.
Or like they show interest, but it's like they're not actually dedicated to what they're doing.
Like their foot is in the door, but their body isn't in the room.
They don't want to open the door. They just kind of want to look inside and be like, hey, what's going on over here? Do I want to throw my whole self into this the way you have? Because they it might even be a little bit of an intimidation thing when you don't think of it as being intimidating, or like they look at it and be like, wow, I couldn't do what you've done because like what you've done is amazing, and it's to them it's this huge thing. So it's just like, how could I ever be a part of that? What could I do to, you know, further that mission or the goal of the organization along?
I don't want people to feel intimidated just because like, oh, she can do this, she can do that, but she's doing it all by herself. Like, honestly, I don't want to do it by myself. And
it's more fun with other people.
It is. Like, oh, we can get together on like all these times and like
meeting,
exactly, do lunch dates or something, but like I'm by myself and it's not fun.
Building.
It's not fun sitting at a table by myself, and like I just don't want people to feel intimidated. I don't want people to think that they can't do it. I just tell people, like, just give it a shot, just try, and if you don't, then we'll find something else for you, something that'll work for you. And so nowadays, I don't ask people like, hey, do you like want to be part of my team? It's just like people who approach me that want to be like, that know that,
work with you.
Yeah, like I can do this, I can do that, like we can work something out.
It's all a collaboration thing, and finding who has what strengths and how to best fit those into the needs of what you need to do.
My biggest thing for people who would want to, you know, like jump on my team is communication. Communication is a big thing. Like, it's huge. Like, if we don't have that, then like something's off. Either you're doing your own thing, I'm doing like my own thing. But like, we're supposed to be working together, and if our communication isn't there, then you know it'll be like all over the place, or and like it'll be just a huge mess.
You're both gonna end up doing the same thing instead of better using your time to accomplish different tasks.
Like, we could have saved all this time if we, you know, like just talked about, okay, we need to do this, get this done, and just like so on. So having that communication and trust, it's like huge, and it's kind of hard to find that because the people I worked with are amazing. You know, Samantha, Natasha, Millie, all these people, amazing. But things don't work out, and that's okay. Like, they have their own thing, and Tasha, she's working on starting her own organization, which is amazing. Like, you know, more coverage and like where she is, because Samantha was the one that first got me that event, my very first event, and I'm very grateful for that. And it's just, like I said, having communication and trust. But if we don't have that, then we just aren't gonna meet in the middle like we're supposed to, and that's just it. So
maybe you could put something on like one of your pages being like, like a help wanted sign almost,
Yeah,
or like looking for
now
whatever.
hiring or something like that.
Or like whatever specific thing you need help with, be like, I need a marketing director or a community outreach person or whatever,
or like a
thing
social
you need.
media.
Exactly.
Like handle all of that. And then I'll do, all the planning, the getting things together. Like, that's fine. I just don't want to do everything by myself.
Right, because it can be overwhelming.
It really can.
I relate to that, with this organization, because with the exception of like the help I've been having, like with a little bit on the website, like I built an entire website by myself. I went through the process of, getting licensing and like taking classes to know what I was doing and setting all this stuff up and doing all these things, organizing events, meeting with people. It's super fun, but if I wasn't in the position that I am at currently, where I have this time and the means to do all this, there's no way I would, at the very least, be at this level. I would still be several months back, if at all, It could have gone to the point where it's just, I can't do this alone.
Right.
And if you don't have someone there to help you, then you have to start rebalancing your priorities and figuring out what are you going to do.
Earlier this year, I had posted on my organization's Twitter and Facebook saying that I was stepping down for a while, because working by yourself, doing all these things, like you said, it's overwhelming. And at that time, it was overwhelming for me, like to the max. I was, stressing over this. I was overworking myself.
You're going to school.
I'm in school, right? And it's just like, at that time, I couldn't balance wanting to help people and getting my degree.
Or like taking care of yourself too, because that's really important. Because
self-care is like the biggest thing in mental health.
Because if you can't, take care of yourself, how are you going to help others?
How do you expect yourself to help others?
Exactly.
That's another thing. And like when I had announced that I was stepping down, a few people had messaged me like, hey, like, what's going on? Are you okay? I didn't get back to them because that's how bad it was. That's how bad I was. Just not over it, I want to say. I was just...
kind of self-doubt?
Yeah. I was just talking down on myself, like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all this shit on my own, and like, I don't know how. I can't even help myself. I can't even get my homework done because I want to help all these people, but no one's helping me. And that put me in like a depressive mood for about 2 months, and it was stressing me out because there were so many people that I wanted to help. So many people I wanted to reach out to, like old friends, all these people. But the thing that sucked about it was that they didn't reach out to me until I had announced that.
It's like at this point where you're just at that end of the rope, and then they're just like, oh, wait.
Yeah, like, hey, hold on. Like, where are you going? Like, oh, now you remember me. It's kind of that thing because people care too late. And it's
kind of the same thing with depression in general, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's annoying. Either you care now or you don't care at all. Don't care later when it's too late. And like, that's what I say on my last podcast. I was like, there's all these people in the world that say they care about you, but they really don't.
When it comes down to them actually showing that they care. So what got you like back on track then after like people, like did people start reaching out to you and then you got some help, or what turned it around when you were going to step down, and then did you step down and then come back, or did you announce that you were going to step down and then something happened that kept you in place?
I stepped down. I had announced that I did, and then I just came out. I just came back out of nowhere. Didn't announce it, didn't tell anybody. But there's actually two things that made me realize that, okay, maybe I can keep going. Because honestly, when I announced that I stepped down, I wasn't going to come back. Like, that was the end of it. And I didn't want to tell people that because, like, oh, I knew she wasn't going to pull through. But now, when I had announced our partnership, people were like, oh, shit. Like, she did it. Like, she actually did it. And then the first thing that put me back in my place was actually my boyfriend. And he's been the biggest support in my life lately. And, I'm forever grateful for that because, like, he keeps me in check, keeps me, he reminds me of who I am.
He's your rock.
Yeah, and that's what I needed. Because when I announced that I was stepping down, I didn't tell him. And he was kind of upset that I didn't because, we could have talked through it. But at that point, I just didn't want to. I wanted to get it over with. I wanted to tell all these people, like, you're right, I couldn't do it. But when he told me, he was like, no, you're going to get back on your feet. You're going to do this shit because you do this shit. And you're going to, you're going to prove all these people wrong because this is what you do. This is what you want to do. And, you're going to keep going and I'm going to be behind you to catch you. I was like,
beautiful.
Okay. Then I was like, okay, but can I take like a small break? And he was like, no, you needed time to reevaluate, get your shit together.
Like restructure what needs to be restructured and see, well, what's not working and what is working and how can we fix it.
And he was like, if you can't catch yourself when you're falling, you bet your ass I'm going to be there. And I was like,
I love that.
Whatever. Okay, fine. And then another thing was, honestly, it was you and your organization. It actually really was. Because when I had
I'm so happy to
when I had did our little canvas thing where we were writing like about a time that we
like
dealt
the discussion board on the class.
Yeah. And then I had mentioned like a particular incident with someone in my organization, and then you emailed me and I was like, oh shit, someone noticed. And like, that's all I wanted, because at that moment, at that time when I posted that, I was done with the organization. I was like, okay, I can just write about this because it was recent. And then I was like, I guess I can write about it, like not thinking anybody would even like, oh, like maybe she'll be a great addition to. And then when you emailed me, it caught me off guard, because when I was reading it, I was like, wait, what? Like me? And then I told my boyfriend, and then he was like, I told you. He was like, if you just keep going, he was like, you tell all these people to keep going, but you wanted to stop.
Like, where's that energy for yourself?
Yeah, he was like, keep that same energy you have for, like, helping people. I was, like, through the roof happy because, like, okay, I'm back. Let's do this.
Oh,
I'm
happy to have contributed to that. So, it's like, I don't usually, like, you're in a class reading the discussions. You don't actually go through them. Like, I can't remember how I came across yours, but, like, I read it, and I was just like,
yeah, that's another thing I was shocked by. I was like,
doing an organization.
Yeah, there's,
oh my
like,
God,
all
let's
these
do
30
something together.
students, and, like, she chose mine. I was like, wow. So,
Yay.
I just want to take the time out to thank you.
Thank you. That makes me feel really good. Because, like, you were talking about how, like, the way you felt. She's like, oh, am I even, like, doing anything that's, like,
am I even helping people?
Exactly. And if you have that lack of support, that's consistent, you're just like, well, am I wasting my time,
That's what I thought about a lot. Like, okay, maybe I am wasting my time.
And I was kind of going through the same thing, like, right around that period. I'm just like, does anybody even care about this?
Like, all I want to do is just help people, but I can't even help myself. So, F it, pretty much. And then here these people come along, like my boyfriend, and then you and your organization, like, just lifting me up. And I know that there are other people who don't have that. And, like, for me to have that, it's, like, truly, like, I'm truly grateful for that opportunity. And, like, we have an event coming up. I'm looking back at when I announced that I was stepping down. I was just like, you could have gotten through that because, like, look at you now kind of thing. So I'm truly grateful. Like, thank you for this opportunity. Like, I couldn't be more happy that, I get to work with all these other people that just want to help people, like, in your community, mine, and just, like, coming together and just sharing love and support as much as we can.
Oh, thank you for being willing to collaborate with me. Like, I've reached out to other people who are just like, I'm just like, okay, that's fine, but it's like, why not though?
Come on.
So, well, yeah, I'm glad to have helped you in that sense.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping me.
For real.
So, are there any other organizations or people that you're currently working with that, to forward your mission or to raise awareness for your cause?
Excuse me. There actually isn't, sadly. And
that just means you have room to collaborate with more people.
Room to grow. That's another thing that kind of sucks, that working by myself is, like, I don't have, like, someone who can, like, oh, hey, we got a call. This person emailed us saying, like, I don't have that. Like, I literally do everything by myself. I mean, which is fine at times, but when it comes to events and stuff, like, I just wish I had a team. And so it kind of does suck that I'm not, collaborating with anybody else. But, I mean, it's fine because, we're collaborating together. So...
And then through that, hopefully, like, I'm going to introduce you to Christian from Gears for Life. Maybe you guys can collaborate on something, or maybe he can introduce you to the person who works with the Mental Health Coalition of Southern Nevada. Like, there's so many organizations out there.
Yeah, there is. And I know that there aren't many for Polynesian people. And that's why I wanted to start this, is because many other cultures have their own helping them. But who's helping Polynesian people?
Or it's like a general, like, we're working on addressing depression or mental health.
Yeah.
But like we were talking about earlier, it's this big, broad thing, but there's so many different factors involved that affect people differently.
Right.
So you have to branch out and figure out what helps who best.
Right.
But coming together with other organizations, regardless of what their scope is, like, you grow together through that collaboration. You all ultimately work towards, like, a similar goal, which is raising general awareness, or trying to, put a focus on something that's not, being discussed within that, general topic, because maybe the people who work in, that general scope don't realize that things affect different groups of people differently. So by, meeting with them and collaborating with them, you're helping them do better at their job and what they're doing. Because now they know, I need to, you have to be aware of, like, the diversity factor, basically, and how to address everyone differently. Like, when people work in, like, a management position, they may know, like, everyone has different personality types, and they respond to different, like, levels of authority and direction differently. Some people, they need direction, and some people are just like, give me the tools, I'll do it myself. And, as, someone who's a manager, they have to know how to guide those people to be the best person.
Right.
It works the same in this. Like, how can you better help somebody by knowing how to address their specific needs,
right?
So I think that's great. So you've touched on how your boyfriend's helped you. So you obviously have a really good support system for yourself and your organization. Is there any other things that have helped support you through all this?
Actually, my family. At first they were like, I don't think you know what you're doing. But now they're like, okay, you know what you're doing.
So you inspired that change within them.
Right.
So
so that was like another thing I noticed. It was like, at first it was like they were so iffy of me doing this, especially when I had my first event, because it was out in Utah. And they were like, well, are you ready? And I was like, honestly, no, but I know I can do it because,
It's like, are we ever going to be ready?
Yeah, exactly. And so their support and their help has really given me the opportunity to really grow in this organization and really give me the drive to, just pursue all of these different opportunities and stuff.
That's awesome. If I may ask, did their support, like, change or, like, get, or, like, I guess increase in a different way, or otherwise change after your brother passed? And did they get, like, an even different, not appreciation, I guess just a different awareness of the issue at large? Because, like, they already knew that you were going through this and what that entails. But having lost your brother to suicide, was that kind of like, I guess, the sense like a slap in the face to them to realize, this is
happening, yeah. It was actually before he passed. I want to say 2018 that I really gained their support. And especially after I had told them that, like, like, you and your organization had approached me about an opportunity to pretty much just, like, post things on your magazine, and they're like,
to freelance content.
Yeah, freelance, yeah. And then they're like, so you're serious about it? And I'm like, I've been, yeah. And so they're like, okay. And so for them, I saw that, a change. Like, my aunt would ask, like, so what are your next plans for your organization? And sometimes I wouldn't have an answer for her because I didn't tell anybody that I announced that I stepped down. So I was just like, I don't know. And then they're like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, I'm just, just going through the motions and going with the flow. And they're like, oh, okay, let me know. And I'm like, really? I'm
like, oh, okay. You're interested?
Mm-hmm. Like, you're actually interested. So that was shocking. It, like, took me by surprise because, for a while it was kind of hard to get them on board with this. And now that I have their support, it's amazing because, I finally proved that this is something I want to do. And they see that, and I'm glad they do finally.
Well, obviously you're making a change, like even just with them,
mm-hmm.
Especially since you said at the beginning they didn't really take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think it was, like you said, there's like, that's a real thing,
mm-hmm.
And now here you are, they realize that this is not only a thing, but it's important in
right.
general. It's important to you, and they care and they support that.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
At first, they thought that I was only gonna last a month. I even thought I was only gonna last a month, but here we are, 3 years in, and still going.
we'll touch back in 3 years and be like, look how far you came.
I know. Hopefully, you'll be on a TED Talk.
Oh, God.
Fingers crossed.
So, I guess you kind of touched on it. The running the organization has definitely personally helped you.
Mm-hmm.
Has the focus of the organization changed in any way as you've learned from it, or has it been fairly consistent throughout?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, consistent, because like I said before, the goal has always been help as many people wherever, because I started this within the 4 corners of my room, 4 walls, and for it to reach to the other side of the world is beyond me, beyond what I thought could even happen. And for that to happen is just like, wow, okay. So I've always kept the same goal: help as many people as you can, share the love, spread the love, and I want to keep it that way. But because I know there's going to be many opportunities that are going to come and going to be part of and pass by, but the one thing that's always going to stick is to help, be kind. And that's just what I want to give to people, pretty much. And so, yeah.
Has not necessarily the purpose, but has the structure of it changed? I know you initially just started talking to people through social media, and then you moved to the blogging. How else has your approach? How else has your approach to what you're trying to do essentially evolved over the last couple years?
I feel like before I was very scared, really scared, and my anxiety, like I said, was through the roof. And for me to have this first event, it was just, I was gonna back down from it because I wasn't ready, and it was big, and it was in the next state over. I was just
completely out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, way out of my comfort zone, because it's been a while since I actually stood in front of a crowd and presented something. Because the last time it was sophomore year of high school. So for me to be able to do that and go through that and actually get it done, it was just okay, I can use this for the next time, that I won't be so scared.
It's all a learning experience.
It is. And it was a good experience, because I know the event that's coming up, it's going to be a good turnout, because we have all of these plans laid out, all of these goals and dreams and all of that. When you're stepping into something new, like how I did with this organization, it was a leap of faith, pretty much. Oh shit, well, what did I do? What did I get myself into? This is do I want to back out? Do I want to pass it to someone else? No, this is mine. I'm gonna stick with it. So I've always, after my first event, I try to keep the same approach as I did the first one. When I saw how many people came, it was just okay, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna get through this. I see some familiar faces. I'm gonna be okay. So I try not to overthink it, because I know that's really gonna make me want to step back. But then I think of all the possibilities, all the positive outcomes that could happen from that. I try not to think oh shit, I probably have something stuck in my teeth that they're making fun of, or I'm losing them, they're bored. I just think, no, I'm educating them on something that matters, something that needs to get out to the world, needs to be shared, and just take the information that I told you, pass it to the next person. And since then, I think I've been more confident in how I approach things with the organization. It's more like I'm not so scared to do it. Like I just do it like that. And
it's like second nature now.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's just like, okay, whatever. When is it? That kind of thing. It's just like I don't ponder on the thought that I could fail, I could mess up, something could go wrong. Like I try not to think about it, but you know, it's human nature to think of all the bad shit that could happen. But I try to take a more positive approach towards anything that I do, like in life, school, anything, especially with this organization, because this is such a huge thing that people don't think, and people don't think it is, because it's not talked about, it doesn't exist, or whatever they want to say. It's
like, thank goodness for meme culture and internet culture.
Exactly.
Especially like people of our generation. We kind of like joke about it because we also find like dark humor as a way to cope, but we really like all these memes you see online, like that deal with depression.
Jokes make it comfortable to talk about.
Yeah, and it also makes it more relatable. And then like, you know, people like, you know, across the world, they read those memes and are just like, I'm not just alone in this, you know, like this is a culture. This is something that is happening to everybody.
Been going on, yeah.
Yeah.
Like when people say, oh my gosh, I have all these exams and finals and papers to write. Like, LOL, I want to kill myself. I'm just like, I'm saying.
No, my sister, she substitutes at her old school, and she like came to visit a former teacher of hers in the class, and I can't remember what she said that the teacher said to her, or like to the class about her or whatever, and she was just like jokingly but not jokingly, was just like, oh yeah, that was depression. And like she said that everyone in the class just got really quiet, and she's just, this is like a year or two ago, she's just like, oh right, that's not okay to talk about off the internet.
Oh, sorry.
So it's like we
forgot this wasn't Twitter.
Yeah, it's just like, for as much as we talk about it online, like when people bring that stuff up out in the open, it's just like,
it's like it's only
you just broke the veil.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Like we haven't gotten to that point in the broad spectrum of society. Like I definitely think we're moving towards it. I love that the leaps and bounds that we're making, like not just as a generation, but as a society in general, acknowledging that this is something that is happening on a epidemic scale,
right.
You know, and then, well, what can we do? How can we deal with this? And you know, pushing so many things. Like, I don't remember, you know, in middle school or high school, there being events to talk about mental health,
right.
depression, suicide prevention, all of these things, you know. Back in, you know, middle school and high school, if you went to go talk to the school counselor, you know, it was a stigma. It's just like, oh, she needed to go talk to somebody. Like, yeah, we all need to fucking talk to somebody at some point.
I feel like if, especially with mental health, if it makes you uncomfortable, that's how you know it needs to be talked about. Right. And that's why, like, at my first event and this event coming up, that's what I try to stick in my head. Like, if it makes you uncomfortable, that's how you know something's wrong. Because, like, if you brush it under the rug for too long, if you keep your
bottling it up.
Yeah, if you keep your feelings bottled up too much, you're going to explode.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be pretty. Like, it's going to be bad for not only you, but everybody else.
Yeah.
Because you had all these opportunities to, like,
let it out and discuss it.
And you chose not to, which is, you know, that's up to you. But then again, like, don't you want to get help?
You're kind of hurting yourself in the long run.
You are hurting yourself. And that's why, you know, seeking help, it shouldn't be looked at something like, oh shit, she's weak. Like, oh, she had to go to somebody to get help.
No, you reached your breaking point and it built up.
Like, yeah, you reached your breaking point and you need help, and that's okay. Like,
it's okay to ask for help.
You shouldn't feel ashamed to ask for help. In the Polynesian culture, the only people you can ask help from is your pastor or your parents. And that's it.
And if you don't have a support system in that, then what are you going to do?
Psychologists, they don't exist in our world. And that's what I wanted to change, because the pastor's not gonna help me. Like, sorry, Jesus, but my parents
Or
don't
they're going
know.
to give you a solution that's like, well, it's like, I'm not religious, but I assume it's something along the lines of like, well, you just need to pray more. You need to have,
exactly.
you need to have greater faith that God will help you, or whatever the case is. But that doesn't address this situation.
Right.
That is not giving the help that you need.
I need like physical help. I need to sit in front of someone
and
I
be
need
heard.
Back, what was it? Last year, I had told some people that I wanted to get a therapist because I was at my breaking point, and I was down. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to do school. I just didn't want to. And I wanted to get help for that because I wanted to be me again. I wanted to just start feeling part of the community again. And when I told people that I wanted to get a therapist, they were like, why? They told me first thing was, oh, you're going to waste your money. You can do it yourself. Just get out once in a while. I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. You cured me.
Wow.
Thank you. You should be a doctor.
Have you tried being happier?
Right. They're like, you just get a hobby. And I'm like,
go get some sunlight. And while sunlight definitely helps,
the first thing I always want to say to people like that is just like, just shut up.
It's like, thanks for undermining how I feel.
Yeah, like that's not acknowledging how I feel. That's just
like people
pushing my feelings to the side and making me feel like I'm weird for feeling like
it's like they think that they're helping you, and it's because they don't know how to deal with that situation, that they're probably essentially regurgitating the same thing that either they've always heard or always been told.
Right.
Like, oh, you just need to get out more. You just enter blank solution that's a Band-Aid. It's not addressing, like, for the people who are literally having, a chemical imbalance in their brain, there's only so much you can do to, fix your serotonin levels and whatever else is, that's needing help, or whatever the issue is that is affecting it. Sometimes you just need a different perspective. You need to sit down, explain, I feel this way because, and then someone's just like, well, have you thought about this, or, what about that, or whatever the case is. Like, that's what sitting down with, a psychologist does, or a therapist, whichever one talks, because one talks, one prescribes medicine. So whichever one, like, sits down and, like, we're going to get to the root of the problem, and understanding why you feel that way sometimes is a tremendous help.
Like, I need professional help, and I want professional help. What you're telling me, it's not helping. I'm not gonna be cured overnight. Things like this take time, and people should know that it's okay to take your time. For me, when I was first diagnosed, I rushed to be okay. I forced myself to be okay, and that made things so much worse for me because I just started to feel even more bad about myself, how I felt. I always made people around me feel uncomfortable, or they just didn't want to be around me. And I was just like, no, I promise I'll stay home, I'll stay in my room, and I just won't talk to anybody. And
that's just as isolation. That's not going to fix the problem.
Putting myself away because these people felt uncomfortable. What about me? I was just
why don't you work together to make you feel better in that situation?
Like, I'm acknowledging the fact that you don't feel like comfortable around me, but you're not acknowledging that I don't feel okay, period, around anybody. Like, it's not just you. Like, trust me, I know that people don't want to be around me because I can see it on their face, but that just makes me feel like shit because, like, damn. Like, it made me have suicidal thoughts. I never actually proceeded or even tried because it was there, and that was enough for me.
You're just thinking, like, well, maybe the world would be better without me.
Right. Like, maybe everyone would be better off. Maybe I don't need to be here. I don't even want to be here. But something happened, and I was just like, before I was like, I don't need to be here. Fast forward, I was like, but I want to be here. And someone needs to see that. And if you tell one person and they don't listen, you keep telling people until someone listens. And that's why I feel like a lot of people who have done that have missed out on that opportunity.
Because all it takes one person.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It only takes one person.
Like, you hear those stories of like a complete stranger coming across somebody who's about to jump off a bridge, and they're just, you don't need to do this, and they're just like, nobody cares about me, and you're just like, I care about you, and it's just like, why do you care about me? You don't even know me. Because you're important. You're here for a reason.
Like, it doesn't matter if you don't know them. Like, all that matters is reassurance that what they're doing is enough. They're enough. They're worthy of love, of life, and they deserve to be here as much as anybody else. And like, please don't make me feel like I don't need help because you think that. How would you know that I don't need help or don't need a therapist?
It's like, you're not in my head.
Like,
you don't feel the feelings that I'm feeling.
This is me. This is how I feel. And you're going to tell me how I feel? No. People would always make me feel guilty because I feel sad for no reason. I don't have a reason to be sad. Or just, oh, you live a good life. You've been like all these places and there's other people that have it worse than you. Like, that is the number one thing like, that I hate that people would say. Like, oh, people have it worse than you. Like, I know people have it worse than me, but this is me.
That doesn't take away that you're going through something. Like,
exactly.
It's not a competition on who's having the worst.
It's not a competition. Like, I know people have it worse than me, but
that doesn't take away the fact that what you personally are experiencing is affecting you in so many different ways.
Exactly. Like, make me feel valid. Make me feel wanted. Make me feel like I deserve and belong here.
You need to feel appreciated sometimes,
exactly.
And that's okay to have validation.
Like, sometimes I hate asking for reassurance because, like, I don't want to come off as needy. It's like, oh, please give me attention, please. Like, I'm not doing this for attention. I'm just doing this because this is how I feel. This is how I am.
And it's funny because it's just so many classes, like completely different classes that otherwise don't have anything to go, don't otherwise have anything that like connects them. But I've seen so many classes that, for instance, bring up Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
And the need to feel accepted, to feel appreciated, to feel like these certain things from other people, that is it is not only a motivation factor, it is a need. It is a psychological human need.
Right.
And it's something that we, for whatever reason, seem to deny each other because we make it seem like it's wrong to need or want attention sometimes. Like, obviously, if someone is being narcissistic or egotistical about needing to be the center of attention, that's one thing. But everyone needs to be seen and appreciated, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
It's something that we need to literally survive and to be motivated to continue to survive,
Yeah, that's what I feel like I missed out on. In high school, I felt like I was forced to hide myself, hide how I truly felt, because I had to make everyone feel comfortable and make everyone feel comfortable while I was being uncomfortable. And that wasn't fair to me because I felt like I deserved to be heard, to be seen.
Because you're seeing other people, you're hearing other people.
But they're not hearing me, and that's what, like I said before, people checked up on me, and I didn't get back to them because of that. It's just like, oh, you care now, but what about before when I was going through the shittiest time of my life? Where were you? I'm always there for people, but who's there for me?
There's no reciprocation sometimes.
Exactly. That's why, sadly, I don't have any friends, which is fine, or a team, because people nowadays, they only care when it benefits them.
It's like that children's story with I think it's a chicken, and she's just like, who wants to help me bake the bread? We're going to do this, this, and this, and this. And everyone's just like, nah, that's all you do that yourself. And then, so the whole story is the chicken is getting the ingredients and making the bread and baking it and blah, blah, blah. But the second that the bread is done being baked, everyone comes to sit down at the table to be served. You you didn't contribute to this. Why should you get a slice of this?
Right.
When, you didn't want to help build it to this point.
I asked you for help, but you didn't offer any.
It's like, nope. Oh, but, and I think that's like a common thing like that we hear like even with rappers and other, artists and musicians is that no one takes them seriously, no one really cares, no one really supports them while they're building up, but the second they get that record deal or they get noticed or all of a sudden they have this fame and fortune, it's like, hey, you remember me? We're friends, right? People don't want to be involved in things unless it benefits them, and they don't realize that there's a different sort of benefit that they can get from being involved in certain things, whether it's, a sense of fulfillment in being a part of something or feeling like you contributed to making something what it is today, and then you also get to reap the rewards later on because you helped grow it, but I don't know why essentially like almost like a cultural norm to just want to have the reward at the end but not work towards the reward.
Everyone wants to take the easy road. And I feel like that's another thing that sucks about like working by myself is like all these accomplishments that happen, I don't get to share with anybody else. And I want to.
It's like, look what we did. We did this together.
And like, let's celebrate what we did.
I think it comes from a lack of, like, not to say that we don't have community or that, there isn't these communities around us to be a part of. It's a lack of choosing to be a part of that community, or we expect everything else to go on. Like, like there's, for instance, so many services that, say like Clark County or City of Las Vegas offers and everything, to the point where some people might consider like, oh, why isn't this a thing? It's just like, well, there's no one to do it. There's no one to push that thing that you want as a service or as a resource or whatever the case is. Like, it's, as we were talking about earlier about like instant gratification. We expect things to just exist and be there and be at that level that we expect it to be at, but no one wants to help get to that level. No one wants to get involved in the building of whatever that thing is. So I think it's, really important to, besides essentially what you're doing, besides breaking down the stigma of, mental health and depression, you're also breaking down the stigma that makes it okay, like make it so that it's fun and acceptable to be a part of a community, and support that community and build that community together with other people. And we just need to be essentially more neighborly in a sense. Like, to me, the word neighbor, whether it applies to someone regardless of whether they live across the street from me or they live around the world. If we start leaving people out of that quote unquote neighborhood, that's what starts separating us. But when we start breaking down those boundaries, that's how communities grow. That's how we become more neighborly to others.
Right.
Is there anything you wish you knew before you had started the project?
What I wish I knew before was how hard it was going to be. But even if I did know, I would have still done it. Because this is something that has always been on my mind ever since the first day I had been diagnosed. Because if I knew it was hard, I would have second guessed better prepared. But I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be where I am now. Because if I, like, back then, the old me, I would always try to find the easy way. But I was like, no. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
You learn when things are hard.
Yeah. I feel like all your hard experiences that you go through teach the biggest lessons. And this taught me a huge lesson. A lot of lessons, actually. One of them was, don't trust everybody. Second was, this organization I thought was going to be for everybody else, but really it helped me too. Because, I was there. Like, I don't want to, toot my own horn, but I was there for me when nobody had me. And
it gives you purpose in life.
Yeah, it taught me to be very independent, because you can't always depend on people to be there for you. And if they can't, then that's okay. But at the end of the day, all you have is you. And that is the biggest thing that it taught me, because a lot of things that you go through, you really go through, like, if you think about it, if you go through them by yourself. Like, no one is there for you to, pass the baton to, or like pass your problems to. It's just you. Like, you can tell people, they can help you, but at the end of the day, when all is said and done, it's just you. And that whole thing taught me to be independent. And it was just, I was just like, okay, maybe. But then again, it was just a very huge, exhausting, like a roller coaster, very up and down. But when it was all over, I sat down, looked back, I was like, this shit is gonna be worth it. Because if it helped me, and when I had announced that I was stepping down, it allowed me to really look, because I have this notebook, it has all my notes with, like my PowerPoints, plans and all that. I looked at it and I was like, if only I had knew that all of this stressing would lead up to this, I would have never done it. But I'm glad I did, because now I have something to be proud of, because that was another thing that I was thinking about. Like, I have nothing going for myself. Like, yeah, I'm in school, but what else? Like, what could I do more? And that was just like continuing, like, what could I do more? And I just thought, what I'm doing now, that's enough. And what I do later, that's going to be enough too. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that. Like, a lot of people try so hard to be perfect or
be what everyone else expects them to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to be enough for
yourself, maybe.
Especially myself, because before,
that's what really should be most
yeah.
important. Forget everybody else. Mm-hmm. Like, who are you to you, and how do you be true to yourself, and how do you make yourself happy?
How do I become a better me? How can I be better than I was yesterday? How can I be better than I was before I started this? If I had known that I would grow from this and learn all of these things, I would just take that chance. And if I knew that I would have all these disappointments along the way, it's like taking the road less traveled, wanting to take a route that people don't normally take. It's just me wanting to become a better me, pretty much. And if I knew that before, I would have absolutely, taken this way, taken the hard way. Because what do you get out of taking the easy way? What do you get out of, like, trying to, cheat your way through life? And this organization really taught me that, like, it really reassured me that everything is going to be okay. And that's all that matters. That's all that should matter. And that's it. So, yeah. It was a big learning experience. I really grew from it. And I'm more in tune with myself than I was ever before, especially how I was in high school and up till now. I'm grown now, and if there's any piece of advice that I could give my 18-year-old self, is it's all going to be worth it, definitely. Because you never know what life is going to, throw at you. But at the end of the day, whatever life throws at you, it's with a purpose. And that has always been important to me, because I believe that everything happens for a reason. I stepped down for a reason, and look where I am now. Me stepping down, I believe that reason was for others to have the chance to really notice that, like, oh, I'm trying. I'm, like, really trying. This is something I really want to do. Another piece of advice I would share was, don't give up too easily, because I did that a lot before. And now I feel like I take the time to process things. I take the time to really think if something is worth stressing over or if it's not. And, like, a lot of lessons I've learned along the way is just keep on going. That's it. And like, that's really it. That's all like that anybody can do, actually.
Well, that's awesome. And I think you've definitely come a long way, and you're already at this point, like you're already leaving, a legacy, not just for your community.
Yeah.
Because it's not just for your community, it's you're leaving a legacy for the world as
and
well.
And for like the next generation, my generation.
Like you've already touched so many different people's lives from all over, and that's saying something. Like, how many people can say that you doing what you're doing has saved someone's life, has turned someone around, has raised awareness on something? Not very many people can do that, because like you say, most people want to take the road that is most traveled.
Yeah.
They want to be accepted by everyone, do the same thing everyone else is, and they don't ever really stray from that norm.
Right.
So you're already doing something that's absolutely spectacular.
I like to think that this is not only my win, but everybody's.
Yeah.
Because, like, not only for my community, but this is something that we can all get in on and talk about, and just, really acknowledge that mental health exists. It's there. It's not this whole taboo thing people make it out to be, because we owe it to the ones that didn't make it. And that's a huge thing that I want to do for the ones that didn't make it, for my brother, for all the loved ones we lost, that, we can be their voices. Even though you're gone, we still hear you. I'm going to share your story. This is for you. And, you just wait. That time will come when, people are going to really listen. And that's my goal. Yeah, that is my goal.
Have you seen a noticeable difference in broaching the subject of mental health and depression within your community?
I feel like now it's more out there than it was before, because we're losing all these kids. Just 2 months ago, 2 kids in New Zealand had just killed themselves. Trigger warning right there. And that is a reoccurring thing. And I feel like now, we're in a new age, 2019. Mental health has become this huge thing. And now the whole Polynesian community is just like, okay.
I just saw a story like a day or two ago that this 10-year-old girl committed suicide. And I'm just like, me trying to remember myself being 10, or like, when my brothers were 10 years old. And it's just like, it's such a strange concept, to say the least, that, that a child, particularly of that age,
Right.
was not only going through something so difficult that they were feeling that way, but that they had the concept of taking their life in their head.
Right.
Like, I feel like it I don't know if it's just because it wasn't reported more, as much before, or what, but like, I almost feel like these ages of children taking their lives are getting younger and younger.
Right.
And I don't know if it's being, it's getting more exposure that this is happening, or that it was happening the same rate before, but it wasn't being reported on, or if something is going on that is causing this, or what, like what's different. Like, I don't remember, being in elementary school or middle school, hearing about someone taking their life.
Right. Especially
like,
that young.
I don't think I heard about, someone taking their life that I went to school with. Whether I don't even think I even knew them, but like in high school, that was when you first heard about it. Like, we all knew that suicide was a thing, but it was, especially back then, such a taboo topic.
Right.
But it's like you read that headline, 10-year-old girl takes her own life, and bullying is suspected to be a factor in it. It's just, that's such a wild thought.
It's like, what's going on?
So I hope that situations like that bring the topic more and more to the forefront.
Right.
So it's absolutely saddening that these things are happening, But I hope that, I guess to say that if there's to be a silver lining in it, and I hate that there is to be some kind of silver lining in that, you know, because I guess for people, they almost want to, like, they feel more comfortable if it's senseless,
right?
You know, as opposed to, like you said, there's a reason for everything, you know. I don't want to say that girl's fate was to kill herself and take her own life to be not a poster child or anything like that, but to be a reminder, like this constant reminder, like we keep hearing about the people who's taken their lives, and every single time it happens, the issue gets talked about more and more and more. It becomes essentially more mainstream. So if there is to be a silver lining, I hope that instances like hers or any of these other, you know, these children that are taking their life, or anybody for that matter, you know, every single time that happens, I hope that at the very least the conversation is brought forward just a little bit more so we can continue getting closer and closer to really dealing with the issue.
Exactly.
Because unfortunately, no one would really acknowledge this as an issue unless things like these happen, you know, because like you're saying, no one takes things seriously until all of a sudden it's just like, oh my God, exactly. I had no idea. And it's just like, well, the signs were there. Or sometimes people are literally, some people are literally essentially screaming for help in different ways. They may not, you know, be shouting it out, you know, but
be actually screaming for help.
Yeah, there's little things that they say and they do.
Here and there,
and no one either acknowledges it all, or like you said, like people were just like, you're making us feel uncomfortable. And then that person ends up isolating themselves, and then they get to that point where it's just like, well, the world would be better off without me anyways. I just make everybody else feel bad about themselves or uncomfortable or whatever they, you know, think. And then they take their lives, and then everyone goes, what could we have done differently? Right. You could have talked to them. You could have.
I have a list of what you could have done.
Yeah. So, but I think what you're doing is amazing. I definitely think that you're making a difference for your community and for the conversation in general. So what's your next step on everything? Now that you've come to this point with all your personal experiences and the lessons that you've learned.
My next step, what I really hope to do, is take my organization back home, back to the motherland where I'm from.
Where are you from specifically?
American Samoa, because that's where a lot of these kind of things happen, and I feel like it'll be really good for all these kids to like get educated and know that this is real.
Like be exposed to the idea,
right? And that's what I hope to do. That's what I feel like is best for, you know, my next step and my next move, and so I'm really hoping for that because it'll be good and it'll be fun to do with like all these kids, get some activities together, get like maybe a little fundraising thing going on and like raise money for like other organizations and all of this stuff.
Maybe inspire people down there to make their own organization.
Right.
That's going to be amazing to see
when
that happens. Not if.
There is no
when.
if, it's going to happen. Yeah. That's right.
I'm excited to see your journey and
thank you.
How you get there and everything along the way. So, how can people get involved in your organization and otherwise help you out in any way, whether it's coming to any events that you do, following your stuff online, or reaching out to actually be a part of what you're doing?
I feel like it's one thing to say you support and then another thing to actually, you know, show up. Like you can be all talk, but if you show up, then that's real support. Like that's real love right there. So for people to like get involved is, you know, just spread the word as much as you can. Be part of the movement. Be part of the, you know, the change. Be the change. And just, if you say you support something, you know, support it to the fullest extent. Especially if it's
at face value.
Especially if it's, you know, for people like within your, you know, bracket and all that. And just be there for, you know, for yourself, for your family, for others. And just be nice, to just be kind, be a kind person to yourself. And just, you know, my biggest thing is checking in with yourself always. Like you can't pour from an empty cup. And so like, that's what I want to share and just, give out to, all these people, and just, like I said, just if you support something, then do that,
Absolutely.
So,
So how can people get more information and take that step into getting involved with you?
I have a Facebook page, a Twitter page. Are you able to?
Yeah, I'll put all the links in, but if you want to like throw it out, so if someone.
So for my Twitter, it's Bulletproof Pro, and then the number 1, and then my Facebook page is Bulletproof Project. You can email me, message me on any of those platforms.
And your tag on Facebook is also at Polynesian Positivity,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll go to like tag you and stuff. I'm just like, oh yeah, I can't type out Bulletproof Project. I have to remember what your at thing is.
Yeah.
So, which helped me remember to bring it up. So, and you mentioned that you have a blog. What is your website?
It's Wix.
I'm sorry, did you say Wix or Wakes?
Wix.
Wix, like W-I-X?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
I have the link is right on my Twitter page.
Okay.
So it should be accessible like right there.
Okay, I'll make sure to put that in the
Because the whole name is like weird, like the name that they gave me.
Oh, it's like one of those like weird hosting things where it's like they do a shared hosting, so they include their name on it.
Like
okay.
Wix dot something.
Okie dokie. Do you have like a YouTube or anything?
I don't.
You don't?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was thinking about it, but maybe in the long run I'll.
Well, I think it'd
get
be
it
really
together.
cool.
Yeah.
But and I think it would also reach a different audience because like something that I've learned through doing this magazine is that some people like to read, some people like to listen, and some people like to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you do, say an audio podcast like what we're doing, or you actually set up a camera and you're just like, so this happened today, or this is what I'm doing.
Like vlogging.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that would also make it even more personal to people, because it's already, just writing something online, that is being personable. But for some people to see, you, the person, and see your emotions and hear the inflections in your voice when you're talking about things, it's a whole other level of connection.
Than just listening, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, do you have anything else that you would like to share with others who are going through depression, who feel alone, or feel like they're giving up?
My message for them is keep going. That is the main thing that I always tell people, is just to keep going. Continue to, share your light, share the love that you give, however much you can, and take some time for yourself, because not all of these people are, like, they say they'll be there for you, but at the end of the day, all you got is you. And if you want help, you actually have to be the one that, goes out to get it. Like, no one's going to force you out of bed. Like, you have to have that willpower to get up and, go.
That's like one of the steps in like one of those recovery programs, or I guess a couple of those recovery programs, I would say, that is the first step to recovering or to healing yourself, is to acknowledge that you need help, to acknowledge that there's something going on that you need to address. So basically, like, it's not a race.
Yeah.
You're not.
Take your time. Just, if you feel like it's the end of the world, I promise it's not, because we all heal differently, I want to say, and we all some people take a month, some people take a year, some people take 7 years, and that's okay. Like, you shouldn't be in a rush to be okay. Like, just, And
we want you to be here. The world is not.
You got to be here to share your story.
Yeah, the world is not going to be the same without you in it.
Exactly.
It's going to be worse off with you gone.
Like, you may think that the world is going to be better off, but there are going to be so many people
that are affected. I think if I remember the number correctly, when we did the interview with Christian from Gears for Life, he said that one suicide affects, it's either 200 or 250 people. But either way, it's a large number of people. And like, he was talking about how he'd sat down with people and been like, oh, how has suicide affected your life? And he'd have people be like, oh, I don't know anybody who committed suicide. It doesn't affect me. And then he goes, well, do you listen to Linkin Park? Were you a fan of Robin Williams?
Right.
And it's just like, oh, well, yeah.
Maybe it
it's
did
just like, well,
affect
how
me.
did you feel? Oh, I was kind of saddened by that. You know, it's just like
It affected
you were
you.
affected by it. So it definitely makes a difference whether you're here or not. So,
Exactly.
and I'm glad that you're here,
Thank
having go through, you know, any thoughts that you had go through your head that, you know, made you feel like you shouldn't be here, or
That
you
the
know,
world
what's
would
the
be better
purpose,
off, yeah.
or anything that you touched on. You know, I'm glad that, as you said, you know, you pushed through it.
Mm-hmm.
You kept going.
And anybody can. Like, it all starts with you. If you want to become better, then, you know, that's all it takes is you wanting to. So just continue to, you know, keep on keeping on. So like Dory said, keep on swimming.
Yeah.
Just
I love
keep
it.
swimming.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Thank you for what you do and for what you do with your community. And I am excited for our event,
We're very excited.
I'm excited for any other collaborations we do in the future. And I'm excited to see. I can't wait to see you on that TED Talk, and I can't wait to see. You're gonna get a TED Talk one day.
Thank you for having me. It's
Yeah,
been
of
an
course.
honor.
It's been an honor talking to you as well.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Conversations with the Community. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to our 5th episode of our Conversations with the Community podcast. We hope you enjoyed the discussion with Christine from the Bulletproof Project about her organization, as well as mental health and depression in general. We also hope that you were able to learn or relate to something we talked about through the discussion, and know that you're not alone if you're going through depression or if you're in a bad mental state right now. Please check out the Bulletproof Project on their various platforms, which we'll link down below in the description, so you can start getting involved with Christine and her organization today. If you enjoyed this discussion, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to get notifications on new content. And please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to support what we do and help us grow in our journey, please check out our Patreon community and see what benefits we offer for joining today. Thank you so much again for listening. Until next time, I'm Kat from Millennials in Motion magazine, and this has been Conversations with the Community.